Welcome to the Eyes on Texas channel.
Ready, we ready, we ready for ya. We ready, we ready, we ready for ya.
Yeah. What's up? What's happening, everybody? You know me. It's your boy, AK, and I'm trying something new with y'all today. I'm starting the morning horning show for you guys. I did start it just a bit late this afternoon as I'm getting it started at 11:59 in the a.m. I am going to try to run the show from right around 10 a.m. to right around 11:30. I'm going to try to produce the show every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday for you guys. So if you do head and like this channel, if you do head and like this kind of sort of content I do produce, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and like this video. And if you have not, go ahead and subscribe to the channel as I do produce college football content, Texas high school football content. And you can see the hat, and you see the backdrop, and you see the logo. So you know I'm a Texas Longhorns fan, and that is what the main topic of the show is going to be predicated about. It's going to be all things Longhorn, Texas Longhorns, golf, swimming, of course, football, whatever else, track and field. If you want to talk Longhorns, man, if you want to talk Longhorns education and why the University of Texas at Austin is the greatest university, talk it here. And in addition to the University of Texas Longhorns, we are also going to be talking about life. There's more to life than just sports. There's more to life than just Texas Longhorns. And unfortunately, to some of us, there are more to life than just Texas Longhorns football. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of that into the show as well. But starting right up off the top, if those of you have yet to subscribe to the channel, those of you have yet to like this channel and yet to like this video, please go ahead and do so as I continue on. But the University of Texas Longhorns, our boys, defeated the University of the Raging Cajuns, just this past Saturday, 38-18 in DKR. And what a great afternoon it was, folks. What a great scene it was, folks. What a great surprise and enlightening experience it was. And what I ultimately mean by that these last couple of 3 years under Coach TH, under Tom Herman, we kind of sort of crapped the bed, to be honest with you. We kind of sort of crapped the bed early on in Coach Tom Herman's tenure. Back-to-back losses to Maryland, both home and away, during that home and away Big Ten series with the Maryland Terrapins. Absolutely embarrassing. There's absolutely nothing to say about it other than that. Other than the fact that early on last season, we absolutely crapped the bed as well. Looked good against inferior opponents. Rice dominated, of course, obviously dominate Rice. The University of Texas at El Paso, of course, the Roadrunners. We absolutely ran straight through them. But when it came time to University of Texas to play Tech, we crapped the bed. We had to have an absolute miracle victory, comeback victory, led by QB1 Sam Ellinger at the time, our 4-year starter. Miracle comeback victory just to get the dub in that one. Of course, you know what happened down the line against TCU. The Horned Frogs came out flat, crapped the bed as well again under Coach Tom Herman, and came up with the L. We did lose Red River again this past year. And it was our time, 100%, as the Sooners were breaking in a young freshman, redshirt freshman, whatever he was at the time, Spencer Rattler, the Rat Man coming straight out of Arizona, was just coming into his own. And he had his coming out party against the Longhorns last year. He got benched, got things figured out, came back out in the second half, and he beat Texas. And that was absolutely when the Sooners were in prime picking for an L there, and we just came up short another time. That University of Texas was crap the bed, but to no avail, as the University of Texas, the Longhorns, all gas, no brakes under the new head coach and the new head coaching era and logo, and mantra, all gas, no brakes, and that got out to a really good start this past weekend against the University of Lafayette Raging Cajuns, as I did mention earlier, as our Texas Longhorns came up victorious 38-13. 38-18, man. Awesome with a 20-point victory. And it is our defensive coordinator's coach PK. It is his goal to maintain our opponents under 20 points a game. That's going to be his goal. So we did meet that goal by 2 points, holding the Raging Cajuns to just 18 points. Let's go ahead and get into a little bit of the stats of the game, see how the Texas Longhorns dominated. You know, as it is going to be all season long, I do believe that it is going to be the Bijan Robinson show, as the Bijan Robinson, the sophomore running back straight out of Arizona, and now the Texas Longhorn, was the player of the week. Not recognized nationally, but of course for Texas, he led us rushing with 103 yards on 20 carries with 1 touchdown. And of course, Bijan Robinson, his longest gallop of the day was that 19-yard scamper for a first down. But continuing on with Bijan Robinson's stat line, as it was full last Saturday, as he caught 4 balls for 73 yards and another touchdown. And man, let's talk about that touchdown that Bijan Robinson did catch from our QB1, Hudson Card, who did have an absolutely outstanding day of his own, going 14 of 21 for 224 yards. But talking about that play, whenever Bijan Robinson did have his touchdown pass, I just want to know, Bijan Robinson, he did step forward, he did take a couple of steps up, and it did appear that the play was changed. I just want to know if that play was changed by Sark on the sideline, or if that was our young redshirt freshman making his very first start that was making the call, as whenever Bijan Robinson split out in the left, whenever he flanked out in the backfield, no one came to see him. No one came out in the flat to meet the young superstar, as he was wide open and just walked in the end zone for 6 points, as Digger the kicker did in fact put on the point after attempt to put the Longhorns further on in the lead. And speaking of Hudson Card and talking about that day, as he was 14 of 21 for 224 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Casey Thompson did come in with 2 minutes to play in the third quarter, I do believe, as he was 4 for 5 of his own, 41 yards, and he did in fact throw a touchdown of his own. So holla at your boy, QB1 and Casey Thompson looked absolutely fantastic. As Hudson Card, whatever, he made his first couple of drives when he was coming up, scrambling up in the pocket, climbing up. To me, he did look a bit awkward. I was looking at him, and I was looking at the way his legs were churning, the way they were pumping up and down, and it did not look like a natural athletic motion. It looked like someone who was a bit shaky, someone who was a bit janky, and who was not climbing up very well in the pocket like an athlete should, especially someone who did have over 1,100 yards receiving and during his sophomore season playing 6A high school ball for the highest level on Texas football. So without a doubt, man, was absolutely 100% impressed on the day with Hudson Card's performance. Without a doubt, man. Alpha Pimp, what's up, man? Representing from Fort Worth. If those of you who haven't seen you in the live stream before, Alpha Pimp, so you just go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, go ahead, like the channel, and subscribe, as it does help me grow. But Alpha Pimp, what's up, man? If you're still in here, have any questions, comments, or concerns about the Texas Longhorns program at all, or anything about the University of Louisiana game just this past weekend, holla at your boy. But continuing on with the game and continue on with the stat lines versus Texas versus the University of Louisiana. On the reception ends, coming from the receivers, the biggest person on the day coming from Cuero High School in Cuero, Texas, Jay Witt, finally breaking the 100-yard mark as a receiver, as he did climb up above 113 yards, as he had his best day as a Longhorn yesterday. It was awesome to see Jordan Whittington large and charged and explosive all over the football field, catching 7 balls from Hudson for 113 yards, and he did have 1 touchdown as well. The longest grab on the day was going to be that 41-yard reception, as he did burst right up the middle, pulverizing but would-be tacklers, dragging men down to the field, as many would-be tacklers many would-be tackles were broken on that run by Jay Witt. Absolutely fantastic. Keelan Robinson coming out of the backfield had Bijan Robinson coming out of the backfield as well, had 4 receptions to be the number 2 receiver on the day with a long of 28, and he did have that wide open touchdown grab as well. The X-Man, let's talk about the X-Man, Xavier Worthy, the 4-star recruit that we stole from the Michigan Wolverines whenever Sark came to the 40. He had an okay day. He had an all right showing. He did catch that 1 long ball that did move the chains for a big play of 34 yards. And he did have the 1 punt return for, I believe, 18 yards, as he did scamper up through the middle and then burst it up on down the sideline for 18 yards. As the X-Man was into the offense, he did beat his man like a drum a couple of times when the ball didn't quite come his way. But that's what you've got to do as a wide receiver. You've got to create your own space. You've got to get open. And when the ball does come to you, you got to make your chances, and you got to make those balls count. But the X-Man caught 1 ball on the day for his first start, the true freshman. Let's not get that out of our heads, as we did have a true freshman starting on the 40 for the Power 5 conference in the Big 12. That's going to mean something. That's going to mean something to me, and that should mean something without a doubt to the X-Man, Xavier Worthy, and that should mean something to the onlookers looking out as well, man. So Xavier Worthy coming straight out of California, playing big for Texas in his first game as a freshman with the long punt return for 18 yards, and did show up once on that big catch for 34 yards as well. But I would like to see, coming out of the passing game, I without a doubt like to see it more out of Joshua Moore, as Joshua Moore had 3 receptions on 17 yards without a touchdown. And man, just his longest grab on the day was going to be a 7-yard grab. And filling out the receptions on this past Saturday, Cade Brewer. Man, if you're going to catch 1 pass on the day, it might as well be for a 6-yard touchdown. And that's exactly what Cade Brewer did. But he's really out there for his blocking in the run game, as Jared Wiley, he was out with that bum shoulder out on the game. Was a bit hampered on my estimation. As a blocker, he was there. He was moving his legs and whatnot, but he didn't really seem to be very much into it. Earlier on in the season, it is going to be Cade Brewer getting the majority of the snaps, especially whenever it is time for the Longhorns to line it up and march it on down the field in the run game. As Cade Brewer is without a doubt the best blocker that we have on the 40, coming up and making an impact. And he will be an impact player for the Texas Longhorns, and he will be an impact player coming down the pike, and that's going to be Gunnar Helm, the 4-star recruit. I do believe he ended up being out of Cherry Creek, the fringe 3-4-star, back-to-back state champion, as he came from a great program out there in Cherry Creek, Colorado. They play major ball out there in that portion of Colorado. As I did say, they are highly competitive and do win state championships. And it was very obvious to me, as he was well coached on his time there in high school. Majority of his time being a wide receiver, flanking out, being flexed out, and going downfield making plays. But he did bulk up his senior season, and he did primarily play as a tight end, and he did spend some time in line as well. And that is very obvious since coming on to the 40, as Gunnar Helm has been very coachable, and also Gunnar Helm has been very productive in showing his production and blocking as well. So that's something that you do want to show once you come to a college campus. You want to have the ability, you want to have the mind to learn the playbook, to understand the scheme, understand what's going on and what's being asked of you as a player and a person, both on and off the field. You got to have the physicality. You got to have the body. You got to have the strength, man. Your body has to be ready to go. Otherwise, you're just going to get pushed off the ball. If you're a lineman, you're just going to get pushed around. If you're a defensive back, and man, if you're a linebacker, you're just really not going to stand any kind of sort of chance if you don't have any strength or speed coming in. And Gunnar Helm, coming out of Cherry Creek, Colorado, was very obvious to me that he's coming in ready to play, man. As coming down, if on the depth chart, he is listed as or along with Jared Wiley. And if Jared Wiley's shoulder does continue to give him a hard time, and he's not ever really to break through as a blocker, I see Gunnar Helm as the true freshman, surpassing him for that second tight end spot. It's going to be really hard to surprise Cade Brewer. Probably not going to happen. Cade Brewer, if Jared Wiley doesn't progress, will more than likely be tight end 1 throughout the remainder of the season, mainly because of that run blocking ability. Absolutely is killing it there as a run blocker. Other freshman tight ends that we do have, we had the 5-star commit, Jatavion Sanders, who did get 1 play or 2 plays maybe that I didn't see, but I believe he got called for a holding call just this past weekend. And the very talented and very raw Juan Davis has yet to see a snap and record any snaps against the win against Louisiana as far as what I did see. But whenever you are talking about talented players, whenever you are talking about talented, how talented the Texas roster is, man, I'm going to bring you 4 freshmen that I expect to have a major impact on this season coming up in 2021. 4 freshmen that I believe are going to have the biggest impact. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the guy who is our starting wide receiver. That's going to be the X-Man coming straight out of California, the highly touted wide receiver that we stole from Michigan. Of course, you know I'm talking about Xavier Worthy, who had 1 catch for 34 yards in his season debut as a Texas Longhorn. He did record 1 punt return as well for 18 yards. But the X-Man has speed. He has speed to burn. He has playmaking ability, and he has the vertical threat that always needs to have a safety up over the top, because if you leave him one-on-one, man-on-man, the X-Man will burn you deep, and that's all I got to say. But he is going to be our starting wide receiver. He is wide receiver 1 out there playing the Z position. He is playing the Z position, although Sark does have a little bit of a positionless skill positions at his wide receiver positions. But the X-Man, Xavier Worthy, is going to be one freshman on offense to look forward to this whole entire season. And coming from the skill position out wide to the big man in the middle, we're talking about another offensive player, and this is going to be an offensive lineman. And you know I'm talking about Hayden Connor, who did end up being a 3-star recruit, but is now making his way into the second line, into the second team on the offensive line, as he is the backup tackle. As he has been 6'6", over 300 pounds for quite some time, so showing lots of size, lots of strength and mobility with that body, and that's what I think is playing for his biggest advantage right now. Talking about Hayden Connor, is a lot of these grown men are getting new into these big grown man bodies, right? But they've only been at it for 1 or 2 years, being over 6'4", 6'5", and over 300 pounds. Talk about Hayden Connor, he's been a giant since he was 12, 13 years old, been all over YouTube, played as a tight end, 6'4", almost 255, 260 pounds as a 7th grader. Of course, you know he played on the offensive line coming up sophomore year on, coming out of the Houston area. But he is showing his merit, he is showing his worth, and he's showing what he's got here for the Texas Longhorns. And I thought that he was a bit of a ceiling player. I thought that he did top out on high school, talking about Hayden Connor, but he is showing his merit, he's showing his mettle, he's showing everybody that he's going to get some playing time as a freshman. Might get redshirted, might not get redshirted. I don't know if he will play in that 5th game. But with that being said, coming down the pike, coming down a few years, Hayden Connor, he is going to be an offensive lineman to keep an eye out for. Continuing on the offensive side of the ball, with the freshmen, continue on in the 21 class. I already alluded to him earlier. Probably going to be the best flex tight end that we have coming out of this class. Juan Davis might have something to show about that. Juan Davis coming out of Everman High School. But you know I'm talking about Gunnar Helm. Spoke about him earlier. Played big-time ball out there in Cherry Creek. As I do believe he was back-to-back state champions, showing that he was obviously well coached as he played the majority of his time out there in Cherry Creek as a split-out tight end, as a split-out wide receiver. Did bulk up, and move in line, play some for this senior season up in Cherry Creek, as he is over 240 pounds, as he's looking good, looking strong, and he is carrying lots of athleticism with that weight as well. Gunnar Helm, absolutely fantastic that we are, in fact, having him into the fold, and looking like he is going to be a playmaker for the Texas Longhorns many years to come for the Texas Longhorns for his time on the 40. As I do believe that he is going to be a flex tight end. He is going to show that skills. I believe he will have some catches, might have a touchdown or two, but what he does need to improve on, and what he does has been showing lots of and ability, and that's going to be in the blocking game. And that's what you want to show if you're going to be a tight end, because you always can't always be flexed out in the pass game. You need to bring it in some and play in line. You need to get down in dirty in the 3-point stance and show the will to and the want to be a good blocker as well. And that's what Gunnar Helm has been showing as well. So 1, 2, 3 players on offense that you do need to look forward to. You need to look forward to Xavier Worthy in this next couple of years, as he is already a starting wide receiver. You need to look to the big man on the inside playing right tackle, Hayden Connor, and the split-out flex tight end who's going to strengthen up and become more of an even better player for the Texas Longhorns as a blocker in Gunnar Helm. But now on defense, and did record, I believe, 20 or 22 snaps against La this past weekend. The Raging Cajun Buster was going to be Byron Murphy II, as Lord Byron is getting comparisons to Aaron Donald, but that's going to be for his stature, as he's going to be 6'1", 6'1.5", and right over 300 bills. As he does have a bit of a role, but when you're talking about Aaron Donald, you are talking about the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL, and you are talking about probably the best defensive tackle in the league. And whatever they're talking about, the comps, they're talking about the lateral movement, the strength, and the size. But whenever you're talking about one of the best football players, period, and ripped overall human beings, man, y'all need to check out Aaron Donald, as that boy is shredded with his shirt off. And Aaron Donald, as most defensive tackles are, that he does have a little bit of a roll down there. But 1, 2, 3, 4 Texas Longhorns that are true freshmen that are going to make an impact this year and make a bigger impact down the line. You need to look forward to Gunnar Helm as a flex tight end. That's going to place him in line on offense. You definitely need to pay attention to the X-Man Xavier Worthy. And without a doubt, you need to pay attention to the big man Hayden Connor as he's playing offensive tackle right now. And Lord Byron II as a defensive tackle, man, you need to pay attention to that dude right now. But, man, let's see what the Speedy German is talking about. What was impressive about Worthy is his blocking. Highest rated wide receiver in that regard. That's right, man. If you're a wide receiver, you got to block without a doubt. As the majority of the time, the play is not going to come to you. You always need to run your routes hard. If you're doing a go down the field, you need to run that go. You need to sell that go. And if it's a run play up the middle, or if it's a sweep to your side, you need to get on that man. You need to get a hat on a hat, and you need to extend those arms. Keep them in. Don't hold. And block. That's a damn good point there, Speedy German. Good job. So I set it to people in blogs for the category instead of sports. I tried something new since I was trying something as this early morning horning format or whatever. But going into the game, I was very excited about what the Texas Longhorns did bring and what they did bring, and I was very excited about that Coach PK's defense. As that scheme, man, it was very obvious that it was hard to figure out. You know what I mean? Constantly bringing pressure from everywhere. The Jack linebacker, the Buck linebacker just going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more space player out there on the edge. The Jack linebacker is going to be a little bit larger. He's going to be the one that's going to play predominantly on the play side, on the strong side, the one who's going to be looked more to predominantly hold up that edge and more sustain those blocks. But the Buck linebacker absolutely looked fantastic as Ovi, the transfer that we got from the University of Notre Dame, absolutely showed out. Whatever he was going forward as a pass rusher, he looked in his space. He looked in his element. He looked like he knew what he had going on. But, man, he did get a bit exposed in the pass game. Ovi did get exposed for a touchdown whenever he was in pass coverage. But as a inline, straight-ahead rusher and coming up strong against the run, Ovi played absolutely fantastic in his debut for the Texas Longhorns. Texas 2005, man, horns up to you, sir. Do you think Chris Adamora will play more against Archie? I think we are going to see some more things, different kind of sort of schemes, different kind of sort of concept against Archie. Chris Adamora is going to be a bit more of a player that's been on the campus for quite some time. He is a little bit more of a better of a tackler. He does quite show a little more physicality, so I do see him might potentially having some more impact. Because, man, you know what Arkansas is going to do. You know what they're going to do is Pittman. He's going to hand it off. He's going to run. He's going to pound the rock. They're not quite the Arkansas of old. They're not going to run the ball over 50 times a game, but they do not play still a modern era of a football over there at Arkansas. They still play some Big South football, and man, this is going to be an absolutely rivalry game coming up on Saturday. Absolutely going to be old school smash mouth football as they hate us, man, straight up. The University of Arkansas, Pig Suey, the Razorbacks, they hate us, man. In our time in the Southwest Conference, they were big-time rivals, and we are going into their state, and we are not going to be well received as a fan base. We are not going to be well received as a team. We're going to get booed once we get on the field. But hopefully they'll be booing their offense once the defensive line comes in and plays very well to against Arkansas Pig Suey. But, man, I do expect to see Chris get a little more run. I do expect to see his physicality show up a little bit more, and I do expect him to make a little more plays. But playing the position in the nickel, that nickel safety kind of sort of role that he does, I do expect that to be a bigger position, pretty much in a general for Coach PK's defense. Because once Anthony Cook saw that he was no longer going to be a cornerback and kind of sort of was spinning down to that slot corner position, he did want to hit that portal. But once he realized that the importance of that position in Coach PK's defense and how it shines and is spotlighted, he did decide to return and not keep his name in the transfer portal and to continue on with the Texas Longhorns. Yeah, a good question, no without a doubt. Ooh. But on the defensive side of the ball, who did lead the charge on the way from the defensive side of the ball, of course, man, 6-arm band man himself, DeMarvion Overshawn had 13 total tackles, 14 of them were solo, and he did combine with Luke Brockemeyer for that one sack. But he did show out. He did show his sideline to sideline mobility. He did show the speed. He did show the athleticism. Man, he looks long and lean at that will outside linebacker. Playing good, looking good. Overall, I did like what we saw out of DeMarvion Overshawn. I would like to see him play a little bit more, come up, step up a little bit more in the box rather than having the play come a little bit more to him. But I do believe that he will see it a little bit quicker. He will recognize it a little bit faster and start shoving his nose in there like Luke Brockemeyer does. Because whenever they're talking about speed of Luke Brockemeyer, they're talking about the speed of the ball. They're talking about his eye speed. They're talking about his ability to dissect the play, see what's going on, and anticipate it. Whenever they're talking about 40 times, going sideline to sideline, man, they're not talking about that speed. They're talking about the game speed. They're talking about his knowledge of the game and making his first start for the Texas Longhorns, plugging up in the middle, recording 10 tackles, 4 solos, and 1.5 for a loss, and combining in that sack that I did talk about earlier is going to be Luke Brockemeyer, absolutely showing out, playing fantastic, plugging the holes for the Texas Longhorns. Could have played a little bit better in space, but that's what's going to be. Whenever I did see him have to run in space, and he was the only player pretty much that I saw to going towards the ball, he did look a little bit exposed. But he did get there. But if you do not have the size, strength, and speed to get there, you will never, ever make the play. And Luke Brockemeyer is showing his mettle, showing his worth with his knowledge of the game and instincts from the middle backer position. So Ovi, like I did say, Ovi did have a good game for the Texas Longhorns, playing that buck edge position for Coach PK's defense. He did record 7 tackles, and he did have a sack, man, and that's what you're looking for when you're coming around the edge. He had 1.5 tackles for loss adding into that sack, but was our 3rd overall leading tackler for the Texas Longhorns, someone that I did thought showed out very well and did show up. Someone else I want to talk to who did show his physicality from the cornerback position and did show that physicality and causing a fumble. That's going to be the transfer from McNeese State, Mr. Darius Dunn. Very excited about having him on the 40. Very excited about having him in the fold. A lot of people think that he's a senior transfer from a smaller program coming out of McNeese State. Don't be fooled, man. He's a physical player. He's going to get some playing time on special teams, going to be a demon for us, but he was the man that caused that fumble. Do not make any mistake about it. Not getting much run as far in coverage, not getting many balls thrown his way, but playing well in coverage, talking about Deshaun Jamison, as he did record 2 tackles and looked well, played a good game in the return man as well. Absolutely had one breathtaking punt return that was called back by a hold and a legal block, but looking fantastic, doing it, making men miss and reading the play as it did come, as it did unfold, seeing the hole without a doubt. Jamison having a big game for the Texas Longhorns on the defensive side of the ball, and someone else that I thought was going to get a lot more production in his opening debut this season. I actually thought he was going to be the defensive player of the game, and that's going to be Moro Ojimo. He didn't really show out very well, didn't really show much for us, as he did just record one solo tackle on the game, man. So we very much would have liked to see a lot more from him. Would have liked to see a lot more from the big man, as he's still young, just turning 20 years old as a junior. But man, they did keep that offense in check, because what University of Louisiana wanted to do is they wanted to get that ground game going. They wanted to get that ground game going with Smith, their top running back. They did want to get that play action going off that running back with that running game with Levi Lewis, who was only 28 of 40 for 282 yards. He did have quite a good production on the day as far as yards were concerned, but a lot of his completions and a lot of his yards did come in the fourth quarter, whenever the University of Texas was already up big. So I did like the fact that we weren't playing a full prevent defense. I do like the fact that we still were adding in some pressure. I do like the fact that we weren't playing a prevent defense, that we weren't playing soft in the fourth quarter. We weren't giving up any plays. They did dink and dunk on us a little bit. But whenever we did come up and make the tackle for the majority of the time, for the most of those times, whenever they were dinking and dunking, whenever we were late in that fourth period. But we did keep our goal. We did keep Coach PK's goal in Game 1, Episode 1, Season 1 of our new bolstering coaching staff, led on by Coach PK on defense, as he wants to have hold teams under 20 points every single game, as that's going to be his goal. So we did hold the Raging Cajuns to 18 points, as that goal was met, man. So I was happy to have our coach meet his goal, man, because that is what you want to have. Tech 2005. I don't see us giving up more than 17 points after watching us play against Rice. Yeah, man. Talking about Arkansas, they didn't look all that good, did they? I believe going into the fourth quarter, weren't they tied or still a close ball game coming up with Rice? And I do know that they were booed. So that is going to cause some quite for concerns. Talking about that Arkansas offense, as they're still not there up to the speed. They're still not up to the times. Let's look at their stats here for you. So their quarterback did absolutely go off this past game. Mr. K. Jefferson. Mr. Jefferson had 9 carries for the Razorbacks for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he looked like a little bit of dual threat quarterback. But in the air, Jefferson was 12 of 21 for 128, and he did have a pick and a touchdown pass to go along with that. But that QBR rating for Jefferson, the Arkansas quarterbacks, was just at 54, man. So that's going to be really low. And the fact that most of his production did come on the ground during scrambles and called runs, and he did have 2 touchdowns and a long run of 38 yards. I don't see them being able to do that against the Longhorns. I don't see them being able to just turn and burn with their quarterback, as we got players on the outside edge, and we do have Overshawn, who could pick up and get that giddy up and maybe possibly use as some sort of a spy on Jefferson if he does get his legs going in the ground game. But what they want to do is Arkansas, they want to pound the rock still. They still do want to have some rushing attempts. They still do want to have a good ground game. But where the difference in the game and where the game needs to improve for the Texas Longhorns, it needs to improve up front. It needs to improve in the trenches for Texas. It's really not going to roll in Arkansas. It's really not going to roll in Fayetteville against their couple of their defensive tackles. As I was looking up a couple of defensive tackles, they're starting big defensive tackles are both going to be 6'6". He's 320 pounds. The guy backing him up is 6'4", 302, and their other defensive tackle is 285 pounds as well. But both of those guys are going to create more of a push up the middle than we saw against Lala. Definitely going to be more a formidable opponent in the trenches for the Texas Longhorns. And I'm not going to say Bijan Robinson is going to be stuffed by any means. I'm not saying that the Texas Longhorns are going to get bulldozed right up the middle by these defensive tackles, but they're not going to get quite the push that they did have against the University of Louisiana Lafayette. These guys are going to bring it a little bit more, and we did see some pressure. Hudson Card was sacked and pressured early and often in this last game, way more often and way more early than I would like to see him. Same thing for Thompson whenever he got in the ball late and into the fourth quarter as well. As that's going to be the big difference in the game. Is our offensive line? They need to step it up a little bit more coming into this game. I do believe there might be some shuffling at one of the guard positions coming into this week. Yeah, but absolutely without a doubt, good question though. But the big difference between this week and last week is going to be that up front defense. It is going to be that front four, and it is going to be those linebackers. Bumper Pool, I believe his name is. He's an outstanding linebacker himself. I believe he got a targeting penalty this past week, so he is going to come into the game only into the second half. They do have another outstanding linebacker who does play sideline to sideline, plug up his holes and fill his position well for Rice as well, and that's going to be Mr. Catalan as well. Playing linebacker for Arkansas, but they do have quite a good defense. Their offense still remains to be wanting, in my opinion, as they did score 38 points, but 21 of those 38 points were scored in the fourth quarter. All right. Does anybody else have any more questions for me? Does anybody have any other questions about the Louisiana game? Anything coming up for Rice? Position battles? Where you think the program is going? Anything about recruiting? Anything such as that nature? Anything else you want to add? There is only two of you guys in here. If you have not hit the thumbs up button, if you go ahead and do that, as you know, it does help out the algorithm just a little bit. And again, I would very much appreciate that. But the Speedy German, man, you're always up in here. Texas 2005, always good seeing you, my friend. We did have the Alpha Pimp up in here as well, making some noise up in here. But I think that might do it for this one. Unless anybody else has a question for me, I'll just kind of sort of sit here and take another sip of my delicious Perrier water and see if anybody else has any more questions. As the Texas Longhorns did defeat the Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns this past weekend, 3:30 at DKR Memorial Stadium, 38-18, and man, I was absolutely fantastically happy about it. As in years past, we did come out and crap the bed, to be quite honest with you. We did not come out against non-inferior opponents, let's say. Whenever we did play against the Rices of the world, the UTEPs, we did dominate under Coach Tom Herman. But man, Maryland on that home-and-home series with back-to-back L's was absolutely humiliating. As a Texas Longhorns fan, it was absolutely 100% mud in our eyes, mud in our programs, and man, that did stick with me for a very long time. But this year, under Coach Sark and our new coaching staff from Alabama and pretty much all over major college football and the NFL, as we did get Bo Davis from the Detroit Lions, our defensive line coach from the Detroit Lions. Absolutely fantastic what we did see. We saw organization, we saw communication, and we saw execution, and that's what you want to see from your team. Man, Texas 2005. Do you think we're gonna get Finkley, man? I really thought that we were gonna get Finkley before we had this all these big defensive lineman commitments. But, before we got Bledsoe, before we got Tapp into the fold, I really like what I see in a Dre Bledsoe. If that kid can see the field, if that kid can see the field and get his stuff together, man, he is absolutely going to be a force. I don't know if you've seen Dre Bledsoe's film, but he's the beast. Have you seen Dre Bledsoe's film? I'm just going to ask you that. But with those commitments. And with him setting his date, like right now, He set his date for the 9th, which is I believe which is going to be on Thursday. I think it's going to be Bama, man. To be quite honest with you, uh, shoot, what we already have 6 defensive line commits on this class. Alabama is making that push. We are hearing some rumblings. He has kept it close to the vest. I'm gonna lean at Alabama at this time. You know what I mean? With Coach Saban just being Coach Saban and that Bama program being just Bama, and just the straight fact that he is an in-state program and he is an in-state product, man. So that is something that I do believe. Ultimately, it might be impossible to get him out of the great state of Alabama, man. But I would love to have Finkley into the fold. If you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, before we got Bledsoe and before we did get Jamon Tapp, another talented player on a defensive line, I would have leaned Texas without a doubt. But with Alabama pushing hard, with Alabama trending hard, and with those 2 defensive line commitments, I'm definitely going to push towards Alabama at this time. But man, I would absolutely love to have Justice Finkley. I think he's a talent. He is an edge player at the moment right now. But being 6'2", he does have the long, rangy arms. I see him being the 3 technique tackle. That's what I would love to see Justice Finkley. As I see him adding about 15, 20 pounds onto that frame of straight, solid muscle, and just being a force. With Lord Byron just a few years to come, having Lord Byron just be the anchor, be the rock, and just have Justice Finkley just being able to just move really quickly, sideline to sideline with the hand movement and with the ferocity going up front as well, and the ability to already having some pass rushing moves. Absolutely love what we have in Lord Byron, and would absolutely love to add Justice Finkley into the fold, but do we see him at Longhorn? Do we see him commit September 9th? That's going to be the question. Texas 2005, man. What else you got? That was a great question, man. That was a great question. Absolutely love talking about recruiting. Really, who I would absolutely love to hear some more smoke about. I would love to hear some more smoke about Larry Turner Gooden, because if you look at our defensive backs, and if you look at our safeties, he's it. You know what I mean? As far as the safety position, of course, I'm talking about Larry Turner Gooden. He's listed as an athlete prospect still, I believe, but he's definitely being recruited as a safety. He is going to be a commit from the University of Arizona. He has been a Sun Devil commit for about 6-7 months, something like that. But with everything going on at the University of Arizona, with all the turmoil, with all the sanctions, with all the stupid things the coaches did, holding practices off campus during COVID when you're really not supposed to, seeing recruits whenever you're really not supposed to, just showing irresponsibility to the program, to their players, and to their fan base, man. I just think that's really sad. But I would absolutely love to see Larry Turner Gooden come into the fold. I would love to see more rumblings about his recruitment. I would love to hear more smoke and see more fire with that smoke. Because whenever you're looking at prospects for safety, the list is Larry Turner Gooden. It is LTG. If you're looking at the list for cornerback prospects that we do have offered, it pretty much does go there with Denver Harris coming out of the North Shore powerhouse program in the Houston area. But without a doubt, we did get Mr. Ronald Lewis III, the 3-star commit about 2-3 weeks ago. Whenever Texas did offer, he did pound on that offer. He did flip his script from the University of Colorado and sign and commit. Well, not sign yet, but he did commit to the University of Texas. But when you're looking at the cornerback position and you're looking at that safety position, the list is very, very, very low. So we need to hit on those 2 prospects. But Larry Turner Gooden, I'm feeling pretty good about, as their program is looking to go in shambles with their coaching staff. As the University of Texas is trending up, and Coach PK and his defense is looking real hot, and I'm liking where the University of Texas is sitting pretty right now with our playing style, our current staff, and our current talent that we have on hand. I do believe that we are going to show some things, man. All right, man. One more art question. If Card is shaking in the first quarter due to the crowd, Man, first of all, I don't know if has Sark gone on a record and saying that he's going to play Casey again this game. That's a question to answer. One, you know what I mean? Because if you go and you look at the play of Hudson Card and you look at the play of Casey Thompson, I do feel, in my opinion, that Hudson Card did outperform him. You know what I mean? He did look better. He did look a bit shaky in the beginning. Card did, but he got through that. I did speak about it earlier at Texas 2005. Whenever he was climbing up the pocket, he looked. I didn't like the way he was running. I didn't like the way his legs were churning. He just looked awkward. He looked like a non-athlete. Not only did he look like a non-athlete, I expected much more from him, from his movement and his mobility, especially being a 1,100 plus yard wide receiver as a sophomore coming out of Lake Travis High School. So I expected that speed and athleticism, but he did settle in. So to answer your question, one, I don't know if Casey Thompson, there is plans of him coming in. I don't really see him being shaky in the first quarter. But if he is shaky in the first quarter, I think he'll come out of it. I do believe that he showed it in the Louisiana game. I do believe that he showed it against the Raging Cajuns. In my opinion, he did have to climb up the pocket. He did have to make some plays with his feet. I didn't like what he had on that fourth down scramble out to the right side. I do believe that he had it the whole way, and he barely got it. It looked like at one point during that scramble that the turf monster was going to get him. But to really answer your question, I do believe that he already has shown Sark that he has the ability to get through that once. That he has the ability to get off to a shaky start and progress through that and fight through that, man. So I don't think he's going to have a quick leash for Casey Thompson, because whenever they were both in there, and they're both in there with the ones. Whenever Thompson was subbed in, whenever Card was taken out, Coach Sark, he did leave in the ones. If you didn't notice, the one offensive line was in. They were mixing in some of the two wide receivers and whatnot, but for the most part, the skill positions and the offensive linemen, they were still the 1 and 2 tier folded players. I.e., Kai Money didn't get any playing time this past game, and that tells me a lot. You know what I mean? What in times past, if we were down one slot wide receiver, Kai Money is almost starting or getting 50-50 balls or 50-50 snaps with the other slot positions. That's not going to be the case for Coach Sark. That's not going to be the case for Coach Sark in this year's. Whenever it's money time, we're going to be up by 30 points in the third and fourth quarters. That's what that's going to be. That's when that's going to be money time. But you're going to see the best 3 and 4 skill positions on the field at once for University of Texas. Not subbing in offensive skill positions, play in and play out like we saw under Tom Herman. Really not going to see that much Kai Money, in my personal opinion. No disrespect to the young man who has absolutely been playing his tail off, absolutely been working his fanny off ever since he stepped foot on the 40 acres as a walk-on quarterback, as a dual threat walk-on quarterback, weighing 160 pounds, soaking wet. Love it. But as far as seeing him into the fold whenever the game is on the line, I don't think we're going to see very much of that in this Sark offense, in this Sark scheme. Why did PK play some coverage? Why is your question so vague? I don't know. What I'm going to talk about Coach PK, what I saw about his schemes, what I saw about his coverages, it was really ever-changing. Lots of schematics was changing. The design of how his players was lined up was changing. Sometimes they pressed, sometimes they backed off. Loved absolutely what he was doing with the defensive backs. Sometimes they were up in press coverage. Sometimes they backed off. They really showed different looks to what the quarterback was looking to see. As far as Ovi coming off the edge, sometimes he came off that edge, and sometimes he did drop back. Whenever he dropped back, he did get exposed, like I said earlier, for a touchdown. But whenever Ovi was coming off the edge as the Buck linebacker, he looked absolutely fantastic, man. Was absolutely looking good as the explosive playmaker coming off that edge. So as far as Coach PK's defense, as far as his scheme, what he did with the linebackers, I love the fact that Luke Brockemeyer did seem to be in position the majority of the time. He did appear to be in position to make plays the majority of the time. Although he's not a fast player 40-wise, although he's not a fast player sideline to sideline. Whenever it's reading the play, whenever it's reading the offense, reading the scheme of what they're trying to do, I feel that he does play faster in that regards. All right, man. So you're talking about Texas playing soft coverage. You felt that we should press more to be a little bit honest. I think that's going to be a little bit more of his style. I think he wants to play a little more soft with the coverage on the outside and come in with the pressure on the inside. I do believe that he wants to mix it up and maximize the pressure in the scheme with the front seven, and doing so. With that being said, he does play off just a little bit more on his schemes. Also, you also have to think. Also, that's a great question, Dre. By the way, horns up to you as I've seen you up in here a couple times. Horns up to you, Nino, as well, man. I appreciate you showing up here as well. Talk about Nino up in here in a second. But, man, talking about that soft coverage, this was also game one. So I think also Coach PK was really seeing what he had with his guys on his turn and burn coverage skills. And he likes what he saw from his players as far as coverage. And the defensive, the wide receivers, they really weren't beating us, really were they? They really weren't beating us down the field for big 20-yard gains. So the fact that we were playing off and then just coming up and making the tackles, it did seem to work. They didn't bring up any big explosive plays. They were forced to dink and dunk, and they were kind of sort of forced to matriculate the ball down the field. And I think that is more of what Coach PK's style and more of Coach PK's schematics really is. You know what I mean? In my personal opinion. But if you are new to the channel, if you are new to the program, if you are new to the live stream, please give me a thumbs up right now. I'd very much appreciate that. I do know this is bin day, but I do want to talk some football, man. I do want to talk some horns for you. I did start up a new program with the early morning horning. Well, not quite early morning horning because I work real late and do not get up that earlier. And I was supposed to get this thing started right around 10 today. But yeah, it was my first time doing it. My first time doing the morning show here for you. So I did get it started out just before noon. But those of y'all who are up in here, please give me a like. And if you have yet to subscribe, please go ahead and do so as well. And coming up straight out of the pike is going to be Nino and Nino's Corner Sports, man. I don't know if y'all know Nino, but holla at your boy. Doing great content up on YouTube, providing great content for us, and and up on Twitter as well, man. Very smooth operator. Love his program, love his show. If you have not yet to subscribe to Nino's Corner on YouTube, man, you are missing out. But Dre, we did play a little bit soft on the outside. We did play a little bit soft. I would like us to see us bump it up a little bit more and press a little bit more. But I think that's whenever you think we're going to do that, whenever we bring more pressure. I feel that as far as like numbers wise, schematic wise, we never really did get in that position that we really were burnt. We were also ahead pretty much the majority of the game, and I don't want to say that we were playing safe, but schematically we were coming up, we were making those tackles. Our cornerback safeties, they were playing well. I didn't see us major holes except for a few times. As the quarterback, he only had, what did I say, 12, 14. Sorry. Well, the majority of his passes did come in a late time. So without a doubt, man, without a doubt, we did play a little bit soft. I would like to see a little bit more press. I would like to see what we can do. But this is game one, and I do believe he will press just a little bit more. I did like the fact that we tackled well. One-on-one tackling was excellent. Dre, I do have to agree with you on that. I will agree with you on that. One-on-one tackling, I did like it. Form tackling, breaking down was a vast improvement over what we saw under Coach Tom Herman and his defensive coordinators whenever we had time under the 40. Orlando, it was always a problem. I did really like what we did have in our defensive coordinator last year. Just didn't quite fit in schematically. Didn't quite fit in with what Coach Sark wanted to do. He wanted to bring in his guy, so old DC had to go, and that's absolutely what happens in these times. It's absolutely what happens whenever you do have a new coaching staff. Whenever coaching staff does roll over, you do lose some good coaches, and we did lose a good D coordinator this past time. But we need to play the run better on defense. Yeah, and I think that's also going to come into the fact that it's the first game, and that's going to be physicality. Physicality is going to come into play. Just like whenever in the first scrimmage, defense is always going to dominate, right? Whatever team you play on, the defense is always going to look good against scrimmage one. And why is that? Because you really haven't had time to hit each other. You really haven't had a time to get physical. The offensive line hasn't had time to really push people around. They haven't had time to go 100% and just whip the other people's ass. And really, that's what it is. That's really what football is. It's a physical sport. It's a physical time. And whenever it comes time to push around your opponent and have those opportunities, it's not in camp. So whenever you have the first scrimmage, the defense always wins. And whenever you have your first game, your offensive line is going to struggle. It just is. They're not going to be road graders game one unless you're Alabama. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to have an absolute congealed, cohesive unit as an offensive line game 1, 2, or 3, man. You're just not. By game 4, week 4, you want that thing looking solid, Dre. If we're still having these run blocking issues week 4, yeah, we're and once Coach Coughlin has had the opportunity, to mix and match the offensive line and see which unit is the best, which one will gel the best, which one will make the best production. I do believe we will see that. We will see them start gelling, and we will see a much better cohesive unit. Because was it Topa Mod? Wasn't he terrible in this past game? So yeah. Oh, Dre. Well, I would first like to have millions of dollars to scheme for offense and defense. But really, man, really what I would do schematically, starting on the defensive side of the ball, is I would focus in on the run. I would focus in on that quarterback. I don't know if Texas is going to need a spy coming up straight up off the bat. I don't know if a quarterback is going to need to spy that dual threat quarterback as he did. What was his stat line? As he did rush for just under 100 yards against Rice. Again, that was against Rice, man, but he did carry the ball. Jefferson did 9 times for 89 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns, man, and he did scamper for his longest run of 38 yards. So that is going to be a threat. So what I would do about that, I don't know 100% if we need a spy in there to keep him in check at times. If he is going to be able to get away from Ovi on the outside edge, if Ray Thornton on the outside edge isn't going to be able to bring him down, if coming up the middle and coming on the outside struggles, we might have to spy if they are bringing the run from the quarterback. On the defensive line, with the normal interior players, defensive tackles, and edge rushers, I really love that rotation coming in. I do believe we are most definitely going to see more of Alfred Collins this week. We are going to see him in more of the rotation. We are going to see more of Lord Byron get better. So defensive line, I don't see us getting pushed around. Schematically on the defensive backs, we might have to push up on them just a little bit more. But from a passing game, from a passing schematic skill set, wide receivers, they don't have it, man. Their stat line for their wide receivers, their best wide receiver had 5 balls for 42 yards and 0 scores. Another one had 3 receptions for 42 yards. They do have a talented wide receiver as a freshman who is in the rotation, and that's going to be Keytron Jackson. They made many videos about him. The big, physical, strong wide receiver from Royce City, Texas, is a 4-star commit. Very fast, very strong. Can win the 50-50 ball. Great in the he's great in the red zone. He could create some problems. We might have to play a little more physical on him. Talking about Jackson, but from the wide receivers as a set, from the wide receivers as a whole, as a group, not much of a big threat. We do need to focus in a little bit more on the run game itself and the quarterback. See if we can tighten up his run game capabilities. The arm, he was 12 of 21, not really good from a standpoint of a thrower. Talking about Jefferson, the starting quarterback for the Arkansas Razorbacks. So from the defensive standpoint, that's kind of sort of how I would attack it. I would attack it coming up the middle and the outside edge, containing the quarterback first. If we need to come from the linebacking position, if Brockermeyer's getting exposed a little bit from the linebacking position, might see more Benga to come in to tackle that quarterback, as he does provide just a little bit more of a force up in there, a little more Jalen Ford. Maybe bring him into the linebacking fold. But maybe that's some possibilities on offense. I think we're to keep on doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? I do believe that what we showed against the University of Louisiana, that's what we're going to do, man. It is going to be the Bijan Robinson show. If need be, if it is a tight ball game, he is going to get 20, 25 carries, touches, whatever. But it is going to be the Bijan Robinson show. We are going to see Roschon Johnson spelling him. Sark did have 1,000-yard running back every single time as an offensive coordinator and as a head coach. So we are going to pound the rock. Our best player is who? Bijan Robinson. We still are breaking in Hudson Card. He absolutely did perform fantastic in my personal opinion, going 14 of 21 for 224 and 2 scores with 0 picks. He did look a little bit shaky in the beginning, like I discussed earlier. Did look like a little bit of a non-athlete the first couple of series, but he did come up, he did step up, and he did make primetime throws. And when it wasn't there, he threw the ball away. What a concept! But offensively, coming into the Arkansas game, I think we'll see more of the same. I think we'll focus in more on the tight ends blocking this week, improving Gunnar Helms blocking. See what's going up with Jared Wiley's blocking. See how that shoulder's doing. As far as the wide receivers, and from the RPO and what Sark's big grand scheme is, I don't think we saw very much of his playbook. I don't think it was really needed, and it is a building scheme as far as what Coach Sark does do. So I do believe we are going to see much more of the same. Hell, I hope we see more from Jordan Winnington. I hope every single week goes like that with Jay Witt. Loved it. What do you have? 7 catches for the first time, having over 100 yards for 113 yards, and he had that late score. Absolutely amazing. Would like to see Joshua Moore come into the fold a little bit. Would love to see him. I don't know what his deal was. To be quite honest with you, he wasn't pressed up super much at the line of scrimmage. He wasn't. He just wasn't getting open. Schematically, we had movement. Every single play was so beautiful to watch. It was amazing to watch an integrated offense with multifaceted integrated offense. It was great. We always had movement, changing in and out personnel as far as the skill position. Roschon Johnson looked fantastic as far as being a playmaker coming out of the backfield. Made that guy miss up out of his shoes, and that whoop out there in the sideline. Absolutely loved what I did see from him. But let's answer some of these questions. So as head coach and offensive defense, man, that is what I would do. Yeah, man. So if I was making millions of dollars, Dre, maybe I could break it down a little bit better for you, but I think I did a good enough job there. Texas 2005 would like to see more stretch plays. To the outside because their linebackers are very good. Bumper Pool. He's going to miss the first half of the game with targeting, and their best overall linebacker. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. He didn't play this last week, so they will have a bit of a improvement coming out of their linebacking room. Without a doubt, the stretch play might work well, but I would just want to see more gelling from the offensive line and see if, as a unit, we can be more cohesive and push around some bodies and push around some people. I don't think it was more of what Lala did to us schematically, physically. I think it was more of us not working as a unit and not having our stuff together as an offensive line. Yeah, Murphy played quite a few at the nose tackle. Yeah, man, Speedy German spoke about that. Murphy, I think he had 20 or 22 recorded snaps at the nose tackle. I think I said 3 tech, whatever. Yeah, man, at a nose tackle. So Byron Murphy, he looked absolutely fantastic for his first game. He is as advertised, 100%. Is Troy O playing? I believe Troy O will play. I don't believe he will start. He is still a little bit timid coming off that knee injury, and I believe he did tweak it, and that's the reason why he didn't dress out for game one. I believe that he will dress out. I don't know how much of an impact he will be, to be quite honest with you. I don't see much of an impact for Troy until if he has much of an impact until the second half of the season, because Xavier Worthy's been working real hard. Been making plays, not quite making plays yet, but showing to the staff that he has the ability to make plays. Jordan Whittington absolutely showed out, and Joshua Moore will pick it up. You know what I mean? So to get back into the fold, to get in there, Troy O as a big wide receiver needs to start making those plays on the practice field before he starts seeing some more plays on the game field. My opinion. Ooh, all right. What other questions y'all got going for me, guys? Very, very excited to see that we did have a little late push, that some folks did come up in here. Very good to see Nino up in here. Dre, always good talking to you. Very cool. Speedy German, always good seeing what you bring to the table. Texas 2005, very cool. Love seeing you up in here. Love seeing you part of the program. Good stuff, man. I think I do got to get my stuff rolling for the day. I got us to take my daughter to gymnastics, so I got to start doing that. I'm gonna start rolling out my day here, my day off. But yeah, as always, man, I appreciate everybody up in here. Dre wants to see an empty set with Dixon, Whitmore, and Worthy. So you want to see that speed, huh? I would love to see that speed on the outside. I would love to see the player personnels, the matchings, everything that Coach Sark is going to do for us down the line, and throughout the season. I think we just hit the tip of the iceberg against University of Louisiana. I think the Raging Cajuns were a very formidable opponent. I think it was very obvious the second quarter, beginning of the second quarter, Texas was going to win the ball game. We were too powerful for them. I do believe that player for player, our depth was just too much. Our players were falling forward whenever they were being tackled, and that's just a sure sign that we do have the strength and the physicality over the opposing players. But I would love to see lots of different sets. I would love to see some more schematics. I would love to see some more stuff in there. But that's going to be it for me, man. I appreciate everybody up in here. I appreciate everybody in the live stream. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, if you've yet to subscribe to the Eyes on Texas channel, please do. And also, if you've yet to hit the thumbs up button, please do as well. That's going to be it for me, man. Keep your head in a swivel. Your eyes on Texas. Hook 'em up.